Disney recently announced plans to pull its content library from Netflix, most notably Marvel and the Star Wars universes. This will take place in 2019, where Disney is most likely to come out with its own streaming service, which has been trialing in the UK as Disney Life. Now, Disney Life is mostly kids shows at this point, but the hope is that they can use their technology from BAMTech to actually develop a streaming service that will come out to the US. Adam, what are your thoughts?
So from Netflix's point of view, I don't think this was necessarily much of a surprise. I think they know that old media companies have kind of figured out that licensing their content on Netflix is not the best long-term strategy. So I'm sure Netflix has been prepping for this day for a while. But it does kind of raise questions as to how long Netflix will remain the dominant streaming service. Netflix right now has over 100 million subscribers. They're trying to grow into areas like South America and India, but they're very, very dependent on this model of producing hit original content month after month to keep subscribers engaged. And especially as they move into new markets, outside of their US base, it might be harder to kind of make sort of culturally appropriate original content consistently. In India, they recently had a bit of an issue where they licensed a Bollywood movie, Angry Indian Goddesses, if you'd like to check it out, which kind of raised a bit of a furor over some of the content in the movie which was seen as inappropriate. And so when you're kind of dealing with those kind of cultural issues of what is and isn't going to fly in different countries, I'm not necessarily sure that creating that House of Cards for South America or Orange is the New Black for India is going to be that easy for a company like Netflix, which is dependent on subscriber growth to keep its profits going up.
Absolutely. One thing that strikes me is the sheer number of streaming services that keep popping up. Amazon, Hulu, YouTube, View, the list goes on. And for me, I personally approach this in a way where if there's a great show coming out, let's say Game of Thrones, I'll subscribe to HBO, watch HBO, Game of Thrones ends, and I cancel, right? And so what this has actually created is a market where, I sort of chase the latest original content, and I worry that this is a more expensive and competitive market that really favors a company like Amazon, who can kind of throw their entire war chest behind developing the next Game of Thrones, which they've actually already come out and said they're looking to do. And so in that competitive environment, I wonder how some of these smaller companies are going to be able to sustain themselves.
Definitely. I know I kind of laid out the bear case on Netflix where I kind of said it's difficult to buy your way to great original content. But overall, I'm actually pretty high on the company because I do think they've kind of have some barriers to entry that are going to stop competitors overtaking them. For one, it's just kind of the technical infrastructure required to deliver a high-quality streaming video service to hundreds of millions of subscribers. It's just not that easy to pull off. And so for that reason, you're kind of limiting your competitive subset immediately. The other thing is I do think it's possible to kind of differentiate yourselves in terms of creating better original content. Like Netflix, for example, has been able to establish itself at award shows like the Emmys or Golden Globes. They've had movies shown at like the Cannes Film Festival. And so they're kind of able to say to content creators, if you come work for us, you're still going to be able to get that critical acclaim that you desire, plus you're going to have millions of subscribers see your work. And I think they've been able to develop a good relationship too by pushing content that's made somewhat regardless of the quality. Like if you look at the Brad Pitt movie, War Machine, that came out recently, it wasn't a great movie, it wasn't particularly well reviewed, but Netflix really pushed it as if it was a blockbuster. And I think that's a really good sign for content creators, that if you come to us, we're not going to bury your work, whatever you make, people are going to see it. And that's why Netflix, for example, has been able to sign someone like Shonda Rhimes over from ABC. And Shonda's obviously a powerhouse because she's shown that original content is not a lottery. She's been able to make successful TV shows year after year after year, and I think by developing a certain environment for content creators, Netflix was able to attract her to come over and work for them. Which I think is a really good sign for kind of their moat against Amazon moving forward. Where Amazon, as much as they say like, oh, we want this huge hit, they haven't shown any ability to do it. And then my final point is that these streaming services can differentiate themselves in terms of the menu and the overall user experience. Like discoverability is really important, and I do think that's an area where Netflix can improve. Where when you open Netflix, like via Roku or whatever, it's not necessarily that easy to find shows that are relevant to you. And so there are ways to differentiate beyond just having original content.
Yeah, no doubt Netflix has lots of momentum in this space. They have great original content coming out. But I kind of see it as, unless they can continue to deliver, this broad base of content that they do today, they may struggle to hold on to that entire subscription base. And I see a lot of irony in the fact that, when these companies notice, hey, we have a lot of volatility in our revenue streams from these services, maybe we should bundle them together and be a cable company. And so I think we're probably headed in that direction somewhere in the future once these streaming services decide to consolidate.
Well, I know at least for me, as long as Netflix has Parks and Rec and the Great British Baking Show, I'm going to be keeping my subscription. So yeah, excited to keep rewatching those for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and I'm happy to jump to whatever service has the latest Billy Corgan documentary. So thanks for watching. This is Random Talkers.